because we don't give a fuck this time. Full force. This time you're getting the full everything. I'm going to fully unload. Pause. Anyways, so this time around, what we're getting at is, hold up. This shit's not loud enough, I don't think. So we're going to crank her up just a little bit here. Just a little tad. There we go. 1, 1, 2. Hey, up. All right. So we're going to restart right here. Boom. I tried to record this this would be the third time now, but I don't know. I felt like it was too serious, and I don't know. Maybe I care a little bit too much about not being canceled and all that jazz. So this time around, I'm gonna adjust this thing real quick. This time around, we're not holding back. Just kidding. We'll probably hold back a little bit because I still don't want to get canceled. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to be. I don't know. I want to be me. And if that means that, you know, I might say something is gay, you know what I mean. I might say, dare I say, something is retarded. I just might. So, a fair amount, a tasteful amount. You feel me? Anyways, I just got off work. I changed my shirt so I don't dox where I work for my sake and theirs. And this time we're just going to talk. I don't know. I don't have I have a little outline, but I'm going to try not to go off that as much this time. We're just going to have a little chat. How are you? Good, good. If you're not, I can't hear you, so we'll leave it at that. You're good. I'm good. I'm all right, but I'm good. Stomach hurts a little bit. But we're pushing through. I'm a little tired, but we're pushing through. I'm not hungover this time, so that's kind of tight. I think I'm going to hold off on the drinking, like I said. I don't want this to turn into like a sober podcast, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no Steve-O. Shout out Steve-O. I watched that podcast. I listened to that podcast. It's a good podcast. But in the beginning, he did talk a little bit too much about how he was like sober and all that, you know. So that's not the highlight of me. But yeah, I tried this episode the times that I recorded and scrapped about how people make mistakes, and just because they made that mistake doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad person. Blah blah. Boring. But real. I still ponder on it, you know what I mean? I'm still pondering because Lord knows I definitely fucked up. Excuse me, a couple times. More than a couple times. But my homies are still my homies. And I think I was forgiven for the most part for a lot of that stuff. Maybe not everything, but most of it. And I've since adjusted. I've since done better. Or at least I like to think. But I was watching the Channel 5 Shia LaBeouf interview, and that's what like got me thinking about it, because bro's done some shit, some pretty wild shit. And I don't stand by everything he's done. I don't expect anybody to stand by everything he's done. But also, if I say that something that bro said was funny, because there's definitely some funny shit that he said, the last thing I need is some fucking nerd coming up like, oh, Shia LaBeouf's a piece of shit, bro. Like, why do you like that guy or whatever? It's like, bro, I'm not getting his face tatted on my shoulder. He said some funny shit. What I would like to have a conversation with bro. I think that would be very interesting, actually. Like, borderline grew up with the guy, even Stevens and all that. I also saw some comment that was like, imagine being however the fuck old he is and still being a child star. And I was like, of course it was like a TikTok comment, which to me, most TikTok comments, same with threads, sometimes Instagram, not so much. Instagram's at least funnier, but threads and TikTok comments has to be like the bottom of the barrel, low IQ individuals or teenagers and children, which I don't expect you as teenagers and children to have a very high IQ. So you kind of get a pass. But is it still dumb? Absolutely. And what would I look like as a 30-year-old man in that comment section, trying to debate with these fucking idiots? But yeah, Shia seems all right. I don't think he's gonna, I don't know who's to say, but I don't think he's gonna repeat some of those offenses that he's done. My condolences, or I definitely have empathy for Twigs, because that's pretty fucked up, and she probably didn't deserve that for sure. But it sounds like my man's was fucked up. He was going through a time. That doesn't excuse it, but it sounds like he takes accountability for that as well. It's different if, like, I don't know, you're out there touching kids, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty heinous, and I don't, that's where I would probably draw the line, and like, all right, yeah, that guy sucks. But Diddy, for example, fuck it, I grew up borderline idolizing the guy, just being a hip hop fan. Everyone wants, like, before all the bullshit, everybody wants to be Diddy. That shit's cool. After all this, maybe, not so much. And it's a bummer, when your heroes are fucking so many, like, it's hard to name somebody that I looked up to growing up that doesn't have allegations on them. So shout out to Kanye, shout out to Mac, rest in peace. Shout out Alchemist. Shout out so far 50 Cent, not that I know of. Too many to name, I guess. Like, I guess off top there are a few really good ones. Bro, I swear. I turned my AC off a minute ago. But here it is, fucking going. But I'm not gonna fuck with it. Anyways, I think that's a long as fuck intro. Welcome to the Captain's Log, episode 2. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna get my water. Fuck. It was right in front of me the whole time. But yeah, anyways. What's been up with me lately? Just like, I don't know, I'm going through time working my ass off right now, which is fine. You know, I've been working in service for like, I don't know, pretty close to like probably like 15 years now. Half my fucking life. But I don't, maybe it's a little Stockholm syndrome, but I don't know. I've kind of grown to like it now, you know? Of course, I want to like fucking. It's funny to think about it, but yeah, I want to be a rapper still. And I've kind of kicked it into overdrive now because I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. Just maybe. And like 30-year-old aspiring rapper doesn't ring off the tongue very nicely. No girl wants a fucking 35-year-old aspiring rapper. So I got 5 years to make this shit happen. No, just kidding. Who cares? I'm gonna do this. I have no doubt in my mind that this rap music will take me somewhere. It may not be Diddy big, but you know, this will be my job, and this is part of the process of doing that. You gotta trust the process. You feel me? But yeah, you know, I work in the service industry for a little side gig, you know, and obviously that's what pays my bills currently. And it's not bad. And I'm pretty good at it, so fuck it, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. I never really understood. I mean, I get it to an extent. Like when I was younger, I was like, man, I don't want to fucking talk to these people, you know, like you fuck everybody's stupid, dumbass people, you know. Which trust me, I do. There's definitely a lot of dumbass people, but at least like in the place that I'm at right now, they're pretty scarce. You know, pretty normal people doing normal shit, normal families, working and stuff. They might be a little normie, which, you know, isn't necessarily the worst thing possible, but am I going to have a super fun conversation with them? Probably not. So that gets a little tiresome sometimes. But that don't stop me from having fun. That don't stop me from, you know, ribbing my coworkers and just making the day happen. Especially now, like, I in the last episode, I kind of talked about like leveling out my like happy hormones through like being sober and stuff. And I'm like, I want to say like 2 weeks it's been since I had my last drink and my last kratom dose. And I gotta say, I feel fucking great. I feel fucking good. Got a haircut, so I'm fucking extra quick with it right now. You know. I feel like I got a little more pop, a little more pep in my step. But yeah, so with that, I don't know. I am much, much, much happier. And I think sometimes I get to a point where I'm like super, super good and super happy. And so I'm like, I think like, oh, I can take a step back and, do this for a little bit. But one thing about me, I can't. I can't. At least not right now. Fucking, I take something and run that shit into the ground real quick. Turns into every day real fucking quick. I still smoke a little reefers, you know what I mean? When I can and when my body permits also, because your boy be a little paranoid sometimes. And yeah, I think that has a lot to do with just like my health, because I've done so much drinking and not taking care of myself as much as I could or should have. But overall, I know I'll be all right. We gonna be all right. Yeah. What else been going on? The album's coming out soon. I need some, I'm not gonna sit here and beg for engagement, but if you want it, let me know. Show me. Right now, there's not a very high demand, but I promise that shit is fucking good. And the homies want it. The real homies want it. Shout out to everybody that comes and asks me like, when's the album coming out? I'm sure some people are fucking tired of asking me that because I've been sitting on it for so long, and I'm kind of in my own way in that aspect. This is probably the longest I've held on to an album, but I'm very, very proud of it, and I want people to listen to it. So, but we'll get there. I think I'm only going to hold on to it for so much longer, regardless of how this goes, because I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep making music, and the next shit I make is going to be better than the last shit I make, because that's how it always happens. Every single time. That's what I always tell people, like, when people want to do something, I've had a few friends be like, "Oh, I want to do music. How do I start doing music?" I say, "Just fucking, do you got a laptop?" I say, "Yeah." If it's a Mac, I'm like, "Okay, well, fucking play with GarageBand a little bit. If you got a little extra money to spend, get yourself a little MIDI controller. Little desktop speakers or headphones, and just start playing. Watch YouTube videos. Just do it." Speaking of Shia, fucking do it. But it's really as simple as that. Really, as simple as that. Because next thing you know, especially if it's fun, and in the beginning, whenever I started doing this shit, it was fun. I fucking loved it. My uncle, I'll tell you the quick story because this is actually kind of tight. But so my great grandma passed. We all called her our abuela. If you know Spanish, abuela means grandma. And I think over time that just kind of turned into voila. And she was a great lady, great woman. Um, and when she passed, it didn't strike me as much because I spent just a little time with her, and I didn't ask as many questions as I should have. I was a kid, there was, I didn't know any better. In hindsight, I wish I would have asked her more things. She's probably a very wise woman. But she passed, and that shit, my elders, because she was my great grandma, but my mom, my uncle, my aunt, my grandma, her sisters and brothers, and then their kids, my cousins, it hit them pretty hard. And not to say it didn't hit me, I was also grieving. But I just remember seeing them and how hurt they were. And anyways, my fucking enough with the sob story. My uncle had invested in this MPC 2000 XL. And if you're not familiar, that's just like an OG beat machine. Many legendary producers use this machine before using a DAW. And if you don't know what that is, that's like Logic, Pro Tools, FL, the computer software that most use to this day. So you essentially had this machine with 16 pads on it, some buttons and knobs with different functions. You had a mixer, and then you had a turntable. And then you ran all that through some speakers of some sort. And I was like, I kind of grew up listening to a bunch of different stuff when I was really young. I think the reason I grasped onto hip hop so much is when I was very, very young, Biggie, Tupac, Nas, Mace, Busta Rhymes, Mos Def, all those guys were like popular. Maybe it's not so much Mos Def, but my uncle, he had that shit around. Jay-Z, Kanye, like these are things that were just like always around me and being played around me. But my dad was like a huge metalhead, and my dad might have had something to say about some of the more like radio songs. And I'm the same way even to this day. So like I know where I get it from. Yeah. My pops would have been like one of the first ones to like hear some song my mom was playing or whatever, and just be like, that shit's gay. And yeah. So I know, trust me, I know, but you know what I mean. And I also didn't say it. So, but yeah, so at the time I was kind of like coming out of this like emo screamo phase that I was in throughout like my whole middle school. I can't for the life of me remember what year it was, but I had to have been like 16. Probably like 16, because I had super long hair, dressed all emo. Um, and, you know, I had kind of started experimenting with some shit, you know. Had like my first drink, and along with that, started smoking reefers. And, you know, when I started smoking reefers, you know, I did that a lot. First, it was like, because I was blessed. My mom, I'm not gonna give you the whole story because that would be kind of like airing her out a little bit too. But she essentially was like, "Hey, you know, like I'm okay if you do this, but you're only gonna do it on the weekends, and I would prefer that you did it here instead of like being out in the streets, you know." Which, you know, some may see that as like, oh, that she did a bad thing, and some might see it the other way. I'm okay. I'm totally fine. I was a great, you know, I might have had my little stints doing some shit, but overall, I think I got a good heart. I'm a good kid, or I was a good kid. I'm a good adult now. There's some things I could do better, but I definitely know worse. But so with that, I never really like had to hide it or anything, which is cool. And I think it actually did keep me out of a lot of trouble in terms of like with the law and, you know, shit. Just like, because some people get, you know, in trouble with the law super early like that, and that shit hangs over you for the rest of your life, depending on what it is. So thankfully, I didn't have some shit like that. But anyways, I started smoking weed, and I was kind of sick of hearing people scream in my ear all the time. And you can take with that what you will. I know plenty of potheads that are still metalheads, you know, and I don't. That's cool. Do you? I ain't judging you. Some of my best friends, you know what I mean. But they also like hip hop music too. They're just more in the metal scene. And so back to my uncle getting the beat machine and all that. When I went to this funeral for my great grandma, I had just like not very long before had my buddy that I would hang out with all the time shave my head while we were high one day. Literally just like one day me and him, we would hang out like every single day and just get high and go to this ramp that was in my neighborhood. And we'd go skate and hang out there. It was great. You know, if you're an old head skater and you have the means and you set up a place for the kids in your neighborhood to hang out, that's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to name him, but if you come across this video, you know who you are. And I hope you're doing all right, man. Grateful for that experience. And I wish I could have done more to help extend the life of that place. But, you know, I got older and I moved away and, you know, I didn't really have a lot of money to do such things. But so I got tired of people screaming in my ear. And so I started listening to more and more hip hop. And when I was super young and like talking like not old enough to have a car, not old enough to like go hang out elsewhere, you know, on the weekends. Some of you know what I mean? Like you know, your mom might not have had the time or the means to go take you somewhere, or maybe you just didn't have friends like that. And there, you know, for the first couple of years of my schooling, I moved around a lot, and so I didn't really have like friends like that. But so I would get on the computer and just like play computer games. And I would constantly search for like these beat making games. I would try to like find a way that I could make a beat. And the closest I could ever get was like little goofy flash games. I remember this one specifically. I can't remember what it was called, but it was it was like this little punk band. They were all like little rocker dudes. And maybe, I think there was a chick in there too. And you would get like, they had a stack of loops, and you kind of put these different loops together and kind of like make your own creations. And that was like the closest I could get to making a beat. And until I got to my uncle's house after this funeral, and he had orange MPC 2000 XL. That was kind of a long-winded story. I hope you stick with me here. Stick with me. And he pulls out OJ's. I forget what the record's called, but it's a blue cover with the boys on it. And there's a song on there called "Hurry Up and Come Back." Damn, I just realized you got the Roku screen over here. Whatever, it is what it is. You're getting the Roku screen right now. It's fucking stupid. Anyways. So I get there and he has this record, and it's "Hurry Up and Come Back" by the OJs. I think that's what it's called. And he goes, "Brandon, check this out." He goes, it might not have been this verbatim. So I'm sorry, Unc, if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm pretty positive that it was. He goes, "Hey, look, this is how Kanye makes beats," essentially is what he said. And I was like, he's like, "You know how you get like, the little chipmunk voice?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he put the record on, put the needle to the record, and then he hit there's a little button on a record player that speeds it up. And it's for like, I don't know for sure, but I'm 80% positive it's for like if you have like a 45, which if you don't know, 45 is like one of those little records. And when you put the little record on, you got to press that button so it plays at normal speed. I don't know the science of why you need to do that, but that's how you do it. And anyways, when you put a big record on, you hit that button, it speeds it up, then you get double timed normal record. So if you put a slow jam, I'm giving you sauce right now. If you don't know how to make beats, this is where you start. This is where you begin. I'm giving you the sauce. Hit that speed up. And if you already make beats, then you're like, this fucking guy. You've already heard this. You already know this is, day one shit, beginner. But that day he did that, I heard that record speed up. And if you can, after you get off this podcast, go listen to that song. And there's a little feature on YouTube where you can speed it up. I have yet to hear if somebody actually has used that song. And I've tried 1,000 times, and I'm sure one day I'll figure it out. Maybe it's like sometimes the song is just so good by itself. I don't want to like ruin it, But go check that out. "Hurry Up and Come Back," I think is what the song is called by the OJs. And go on YouTube and speed it up on YouTube and just listen to what that sounds like. Not all the way, just to a solid like, hip hop speed, 90 or 80 BPM, whatever it is, double timed. from the original, and it's a banger. Let me tell you, that shit is fucking. And yeah, and so with an MPC, you have the most, like, pretty much ultimate freedom to do whatever the fuck you want to do with it. And so you can take little pieces on each pad, and then you got a few banks, A, B, C, and D, that you can kind of, if you fill those first 16 pads up, you hit the next bank, and you can put some drums on there, a bass sample, if you will, and you could pretty much do it all right there. And that's where a lot of these OGs, like nowadays, we are like, there's hardly an excuse for a shitty beat. If you make a shitty beat nowadays, you're fucking lazy. You just don't. How bad do you want it? Not that bad, because we have so many tools at our disposal. Yet I still hear shitty ass beats all the time. And yeah, so he put me on that machine, and I fucked around with it and made a fucking D tier beat with it. But it was good enough that he thought, what if I got him one? And so he got me a machine, and that just forever changed the course of my whole career as a musician. I had a guitar my dad got me, and I kind of picked it up and played with it here and there. I'd like to get back into it for sure, because now I can apply it to what I do, making beats on my computer and whatnot. Because since over time I did the MPC thing for a really long time, I would sample records and whatnot. And then eventually, you want to add effects and, be able to mix, right off the bat without like having to take your MPC to a studio or whatever. And it just, all roads led to getting a computer and, some software. And then I ended up having to sell my MPC. Sadly, just dealing with bills and shit. Yeah, the bummer. But yeah, that's the story of how I started making beats, Sorry, that was kind of long-winded. That's probably like the whole episode right there. But I'm not going to leave you yet. Because I feel like we didn't really get anywhere. Maybe we did. But yeah, here's episode 2. My stomach hurts. But we powered through. The first one I did, I think I already kind of went over this, but I don't know. It was just, it just seems kind of lame. And it seemed like everything I talked in the first episode was kind of turning into that. And so I was like, nah, we're not doing this. And I came back to it today to do this. So yeah. Thanks for listening. Hope your day is going well. Until next time, my friends. Fucking AC again. God damn it.